Hello, I'm Kevin Buddy, a mortgage specialist, and I want to bring to your attention what's happening in America with our national debt. We are on the verge of a debt crisis. I'm going to give you the specific numbers, and this may get a little detailed. A recent report from the Nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office stated, due to a combination of the current spending that we're dealing with in America, our government, and the recent tax cuts, the national debt will peak at more than 152% of the nation's gross domestic product. The U.S. Treasury just announced that they predict that the U.S. government's borrowing needs in the second half of 2018 alone will jump to the most since the financial crisis we went through in 2008. To give you specific reasons why, it's because of the $1.5 trillion in tax cuts that were enacted last year, along with Congress-approved $300 billion in spending increase. So you're cutting taxes, which is less revenue, at the same time you're increasing spending. The Congressional Budget Office reported the total government spending would exceed revenue by $1 trillion in 2020. To give you some specific numbers, the federal debt held by the public currently stands at $15.3 trillion. The intergovernmental holdings of debt is $5.7 trillion. Those combined equal the total national debt of $21 trillion. That equates to 78% of the size of the U.S. economy. So based on current trends, the debt will equal the size or be 100% of the economy in 10 years. That number will equate to $28 trillion in 2028. As comparison purposes, the last time the debt burden hit that level was just after World War II. So you give you an example of what we're dealing with. Now, how this affects everyone. Based on a projected U.S. population of 350 million people, the amount of debt for each man, woman, and child in America is going to be $82,000. In comparison purposes of the relationship of the debt to the gross domestic product, over the last 50 years, the federal debt has averaged about 41% of gross domestic product. And as I stated, we are at 78% currently and on our way to 100% of the gross domestic product. Now, what could we do? Well, to bring the red ink down to historical average level of 41% from the 78 we're currently at, taxes would actually need to increase 17%, and the government spending would actually have to be cut by 15%. We are dealing with a debt crisis. The U.S. government is going further into debt at an ever-increasing speed. To pay for this debt, the government actually has to sell more and more Treasury securities at record levels. Well, with record amount of debt to sell, they're going to actually have to charge higher rates so investors will want to keep buying all of this debt. So how does this affect every man, woman, and child in America? Well, Treasury rates affect mortgage rates, business loans, and consumer debt. So you're going to find a continual increase in the cost to borrow money, and this is going to cause a constraint on the U.S. economy. So my advice is to take advantage of lower borrowing costs now. If you're in the housing market and you're looking to buy a home, or you're thinking or sitting on the fence, I strongly suggest this year, 2018, you take advantage of these lower borrowing costs, because by 2019 and 20, as more people realize the debt crisis we're facing in America, it's going to affect the cost of buying a home. Till next time, I'm Kevin Buddy, your mortgage specialist.